Hi, this is Jasmine, and this is my older adult oral video presentation. I picked Dr. Stanley L. as my interviewee for 3 reasons. First reason is because he was my old boss at the Boys and Girls Club. Before I started working at the Boys and Girls Club, I was a volunteer there for about 6 months, and Dr. L offered me a job position for their summer program, which I happily accepted. He is a father-like figure to me because he's always there when I need him, and he helps me out a lot. He has been a reference to get into Widener, and he also has been a reference for me to get my current job. And he is a mentor for me. Currently, he works at a high school, but he has been working with children and teenagers for several years now, so he has a lot of insight on how to deal with that population. That's the population that I eventually want to work with when I become a social worker, so all of his advice helps me out a lot about how to deal with that. Erikson's 7th and 8th stage go hand in hand. The 7th stage is about a person's ability to get back to the social world. One can do this by being active in caring roles and pursuing work responsibilities. This leads to the final stage of integrity versus despair. In the final stage, older adults feel like they have lived a meaningful and fulfilling life. People may assume that older adults with disabilities are considered dependent and that this stage does not concern them. They are viewed as being cared for instead of in a caring role. Disabilities cause loss of function, loss of services, and limitations. Erikson's theory is important in this case because it addresses what makes a meaningful life. However, Erikson's theory is lacking in information regarding social locations. Examples of social locations include gender, disability, ethnicity, education, socioeconomic status, and sexual orientation. These factors may or may not give a person opportunities in life. Some people are called defiant despite being denied resources that are able to be enjoyed by others because of disempowerment such as sexism and ableism. So for stage 8, the older adulthood, in this reference, it focuses on mental illness. So for mental illness recovery stage, it is also called integrity versus despair. It has 2 features. The first feature is reflecting on life lived with psychiatric recovery. And the second feature is provide mentorship and wisdom. The same reference talks about Erikson's developmental stage, which is also called integrity versus despair, the 8th stage. It also has 2 features. The first one is looking back on the life that one has lived, and life review and addressing mortality, which has a result of wisdom. Stage 8 is also called mental illness recovery stage and Erikson developmental stage. This stage deals with older people accepting challenges in their lives as a result of disabilities. A person may wonder how different their life would have been without the disability. They may question if they would have had children or a significant other. Individuals who are recovering may talk about past relapses as a way of closure. Some people on this stage may be very elderly, while others may be youthful. Erikson created 2 stages of development for middle and later adulthood. Some aspects of Erikson's stages that may be relatable to spiritual growth. However, that is not the case in the final 2 stages of development. In spiritual adulthood, an individual becomes more spiritually aware in their life and will mentor others to become spiritually aware as well. Generativity and wisdom are factors of these stages. These stages are not as complicated because people in this stage are less likely to engage in therapy surrounding spiritual topics. Important experiences in the interviewee's life from the chosen development stage. The destruction of the original discotheque that he created with a group of friends and his brother. When it was burnt down by the mob, he started becoming spiritual. He started asking God why was that stuff happening to him and what he should do next. The destruction of the original discotheque was also a reason why he turned down the $200 million offer to make a business with a group of people. He told me that he didn't want to have the same type of experience as he did before because of his fear of something happening with the mob again. He didn't want to, quote, sell his soul to the devil, unquote. So he wanted to stay away from that livelihood, and because of that, he parted ways with this business to start another. Difficult challenges and accomplishments in the interviewee's life related to the chosen developmental stage. So he was offered $200 million, which we all know is a great salary and we will all take it, but Dr. L happily declined this offer when he was asked. I wondered why he didn't want to go ahead and accept that amount of money, but like I said in the previous slide, he didn't want to become involved in the mob again because of what they did when they burnt down his business. He didn't want to do anything related to that again because it scared him. I mean, it would scare anybody. So he parted ways with that scene, that business, and started doing other things. He had a relationship with a woman named Olga throughout the years. At first, she was his girlfriend who helped him become a professional dancer, and later he married her, and several years later they had 2 girls. At 21 years old, he bought his own condo. At a young age, he started a business, and as his life went on, he owned several other successful businesses. The destruction of the discotheque played a huge part of his life because of the different things that happened afterwards. He does not plan to retire anytime soon. He told me that all he wants to do is work, and he does not really enjoy going on vacations. He'd rather just work 24/7. Even though this development stage is focused on people who are retired, but he doesn't want to retire anytime soon. He feels that he has led a successful life with both his career and family. Dr. L is 70 years old and has so many different businesses that he has created from the ground up, and he also has a wonderful family. He has been married for 35 years, and he has two adult daughters. Psychosocial crisis resolution. So for this stage, it is integrity versus despair. Integrity. Affirm life's worth, realistic and insightful self-awareness, can explain what influences shape their character. They are reasonably optimistic. They do not hide from life's regrets, and they are neither depressed nor self-critical. Erickson describes a person with integrity as someone who declares life's worth. Integrated people are realistic and insightful. This allows them to be reasonably optimistic. They embrace their regrets as well. This type of person is actively involved in their family, friends, and community. It is accepted for them to feel loss, grief, and sadness due to not doing as much as they would like in life. They are curious and involved, ego-resistant, and content with their experiences and achievements. What is a despaired person? This type of person is depressed because of missed chances, disappointments, and failures. Their way of interpreting the world is not sufficient enough for life's satisfaction. They often show anger, sadness, regret in the form of sarcasm or pointless remarks. Visually, they seem confused. Despairing persons feel that they do not belong and that there is not enough time for fulfilling their life. Include how issues of diversity and difference have shaped the interviewee's life experiences. Dr. L graduated high school at age 17. He dropped out of college after a semester because he did not have the money to continue. He started a business with a group of friends at age 18. His business continued growing at age 19. He volunteered at different places to gain experiences. He created with his friends the largest discotheque in New Jersey. And he prayed to God after the destruction of the original discotheque building. Include how oppression may have shaped the interviewee's life experience. The mob burnt down their discotheque building, and the discotheque was raided by the police several times in order to scare them. He told me how he remembers his brother being pinned up against the wall with a shotgun to his head, and how scared he was, and how he wanted to save his brother, he wanted to help his brother, but he was too afraid of making a move because he thought that the cop would shoot his brother. And the mob burned down their discotheque building because a guy named Chris that they were leasing the building from was not paying the mob that money. And so the mob came after Dr. L's company. And ever since then, he's been afraid of being in this